For some background, my stepdad was a truck driver. He worked for Affiliated Foods, so he took loads to Kansas and New Mexico, Oklahoma, and parts of Texas. He was able to have company on his runs, and now, on to the story. This happened 6 months ago. My stepdad had to take a load to Kansas, and I wanted to go with him. This happened in Texarkana around 1 a.m. It was pitch black outside, and the only thing we could see were the headlights from the truck. We were having one of our normal conversations, and the next thing you know, we see a dog-like creature standing 7 feet tall with yellow eyes run across the road. It had gray fur with spots of black, and it had pointed ears with a long, fluffy tail. We just looked at each other and wondered what the hell that was. The rest of the trip was uneventful, and we made it home safely. I've lived in a haunted house, and I'll take a ghost over that any day of the week, but that's another story. I work at a video store. Yes, those still exist in Canada. So I work mostly evening and night shifts. The store is located in a pretty calm neighborhood, nothing special, usual suburb. I live really near to the store and don't own a car, so I walk down to my house for about 20 minutes or so to get home. The last shift's walk was a little bit special, creepy, I would say. I finish off at 2300 hours, lock the door, say goodbye to my coworker, and begin my walk home, alone. Just about 5 minutes in at the first intersection, that's when I saw them. A woman and a little boy were roughly 30 feet away from me, coming from the other side of the street, but something was wrong. The woman was walking backwards, dragging the little boy under the armpits with his boots dragging in the snow. The scene sent a chill down my spine and made me stop. The woman saw me and immediately said, "Oh, don't worry, he's okay. He's just, sleepwalking." And then she proceeded to explain that it was a kind of night terror and that the fresh air helps him relax. Apparently, the only way he would stop screaming, "I'm falling!" was to keep him in contact with the ground at all times, so that's why she was dragging him like that. Anyhow, I continued my walk. I was looking back to see if they were following me. I'm not easily scared, but I have to admit that this walk home was a little bit longer than usual. The worst part is, if I see them again, that would be the only thing validating the story of the woman. Otherwise, I'll never know if she was lying to me. This happened at the beginning of April in 2017. I'm an avid player of Clash Royale, and I was in a clan called Killer Clan. I know, it's an amazing clan name. In this clan, there's a family, a mom and her 2 sons, and we became very close friends in the game. Keep in mind, her sons are young. I don't know their exact ages, but if I had to guess, between 6 and 12 years old. So one day, a new feature was introduced to the game called Clan Battles. This was the biggest update in the game, and everyone wanted to play in this new mode. The objective is for you to defeat your enemy's tower. The one with the most towers destroyed or the first one to defeat the king tower wins, but your enemies will try the same and will try to stop you from defeating their towers. You and your clanmates must work together to win. So one day, me and one of the sons just finished a match. We won, of course, and when we came to the chat box to discuss our victory and to see what our improvements were, we saw a new member join. We welcomed him, and then this happened. He kept saying he wanted to do clan battle with us, and we said sure, but then he said something disturbing. He said,
"Call me and we can play."
He even gave us his phone number. Now, I was thinking, what kind of lunatic would give his phone number to a bunch of random people so he can talk and communicate with them in battles? We said, no thank you, we don't want to call you. Then, he just got mad and pushy. He said,
"Call me now so we can play."
I suddenly knew that this guy was not trying to play with us. He wanted to talk to us and to try and get information on us because he probably thought that we were younger than we were. I was 14 at the time, and I'm 15 now. Then the mom and the other son came on, and we were saying that we shouldn't call him, yet he was still trying to get us to call him to play. I told the mother what was going on, and then we agreed to kick the guy out. Immediately, he started saying sorry, but we didn't buy his bullshit. I told the mom that he was harassing us. Some other members that just got on saw the conversation and said that something could have went really wrong if we did call that creep. We then started discussing what could have happened if we did call, and there is no telling what could have happened. Several years ago, my family lived in a sketchy area of a small town in South Carolina. Our neighbor 2 doors down was a well-known drug dealer, and there were always shady people walking up and down our street and through our yard late at night. Now my fiancé is a night owl, and I worked nights, so we were always up late. My daughters weren't in school yet and thankfully liked to sleep in as much as we did, so it wasn't uncommon for he and I to be up at 2 or 3 in the morning watching TV and playing internet poker. We didn't have curtains or blinds on most of the windows, so it was obvious that we were awake in the brightly lit living room that late at night. Everyone in the neighborhood was also familiar with our 2 oversized German shepherds. Our female was around 160 pounds and our male was around 120. They could also both be seen through the window at night by anyone looking in. So for a few weeks, we'd been having issues with hearing sounds outside at night. When we went to check, typically the person would be gone and we'd find nothing but a pry bar near the window where they'd been trying to get in. By the time we moved from that neighborhood, we had a collection of them that we'd found from around the outside of our house. What couldn't be seen through the windows was that my fiancé had drilled holes through both wooden frames of each window, and then had them held in place with 3-inch nails, so they couldn't be opened without taking the nails out of the holes. One night, we were sitting in the living room at around 3 in the morning, and we hear a sound at the window directly between our 2 computers. The dogs are sitting in front of the window just growling and staring out, and when we looked outside, we could see a guy trying to pry the window open. We both stood in front of the window, staring at him. The dogs were barking, but he was so drugged up, apparently he didn't notice any of us were there until my fiancé knocked on the window. He ran off, and my fiancé headed outside to collect his pry bar. We figured that would be the end of it, but the next night, the same guy was at it again, at a different window in the living room. The process repeated, with my fiancé knocking on the window and scaring him off, and then collecting the pry bar. When he showed up on the 3rd night, we decided we'd had enough. This time, instead of knocking on the window, my fiancé went outside without alerting him. So this is what the guy trying to break into the house saw. First, my fiancé steps out onto the porch. He's 6'5" but skinny and uses a cane a large portion of the time, so despite his height, he appears pretty non-threatening. When the guy noticed him there, he didn't try to run this time, apparently thinking he could take him. They stared each other down for a few minutes, and when the guy raised the pry bar like he was going to move towards my fiancé, all hell broke loose. My fiancé, despite using a cane, is fast when he needs to be. In an instant, he popped open the front door, releasing both of the dogs, and at the same time, pulled a machete out of the back of his pants and took off after the guy. So here's this guy, thinks he's got an easy target, only to be chased down by nearly 300 combined pounds of snarling teeth and muscle, and a crazy skinny white guy with a machete. I've never seen a crackhead run so fast. All I can say is, housebreaking drug addict guy, for your sake, I hope we never meet again. Hey guys, I have some questions that I need your help with. If anyone has even the faintest idea to an answer, I would truly appreciate it. Roughly 2 years ago, I started urban exploring. Most of you probably know what that is, but if you don't, it's basically just breaking into abandoned places and checking them out. It's really cool, and I did it quite a lot, but a week ago, something happened. You see, I went into this old abandoned school. It was clear to me that I wasn't the first one to have entered. The walls were littered with graffiti and the lamps in the ceiling had been broken, not to mention the occasional beer can or vodka bottle lying on the floor. This was relatively common, and I didn't really think much of it. I looked around all over, and it wasn't really that great, to be quite frank. There were more signs of kids getting drunk without the knowledge of their parents than there were of what this place once was. It sort of ruined the experience for me, and as I stood there considering whether or not this place was worth my time, I heard a deep growl. I stood there for a second wondering whatever in the world that could be, and it didn't take me long to conclude a homeless guy was probably living here, and it was his dog I heard. A dog that didn't sound too friendly, mind you, and if the bottles and beer cans on the floor were the owner's, there would most likely be a good chance that he wasn't all too happy either, so I decided to get the fuck out of there before any sort of conflict would arise. I ran towards the door, which was too far away for my liking, and I reckon I got about halfway there, sprinting through the hallways, before I got hit from the side with an immense force. The sheer weight of the hit hurt like a truck, and I was immediately knocked over to the side, right into the wall. It came from out of nowhere, and after I had taken a few seconds to regain my senses, lying on the ground, there was nothing to be seen. No dog, no mad drunk leaning over me, nothing. That's when I realized it actually did come out of nowhere. I got hit from the side, yet there was no door or opening any dog could have come from. It was a hallway. It could have come from the front or the back, but not the side. Slightly creeped out, I reclaimed my panicked state of mind and got up on my feet, only to crumble due to a sharp pain in my side. I was sure I had broken a rib or something of the like from the hit I took, but I was adamant that I was getting out. Supporting myself up against the wall, I headed as fast as I could towards the door. There was nothing to be heard and nothing to be seen. I could see the door and was almost in the clear when something hit me in the face and put me right on the floor. It felt like a punch from a pro boxer, but I also had a burning sensation on my cheek. I put my hand on my face, only to find my cheek had been torn open in 3 places, as if someone had cut 3 fine lines all the way right through the flesh. The burn suddenly shifted to an overwhelming pain, taking over all my other senses. Unable to focus on sound or sight, I let out a scream, only to have it cut off as the back of my head hit the floor due to something grabbing my foot and dragging me closer, and then right past the door I was trying to go through. I was dragged into a room and I heard the growl again, but this time there was more than one. I don't know how many, but these weren't the growls of an animal. It was something else. The pure sound of it shook my heart and was almost worse than the beatings I had taken. As I was lying there on the floor in what appeared to be an empty room, a few seconds went by, each of which felt like an eternity, listening to the growl of purebred craze. Then, they tore me apart. I felt as they ripped my skin, shook and pulled me apart from both sides, dislocating my arms and slicing through my organs. How my open lungs were filling with my own blood, and my heart was squirting blood onto the floor right next to my face. And all I could think of was why I wouldn't die. Then it stopped. The doors to the school opened. A policeman had found my car and figured I went in. He found me lying on the floor, and as I looked up at him with tears on my face, unable to speak, he asked me if I was okay. And physically, I was. Not a scratch on me. Even my clothes were untouched. He took me in his car and tested me for drugs. I came out clean. I had to pay a fine for trespassing, and then I got sent home. I went back there yesterday. I didn't go inside, but I went back there and looked at the building, pondering upon what had happened there, and I heard the growl again. I heard it from outside the building. I left, and I can't go back there, but I need to know what happened. What is living in that building? Why am I still alive and well? Will it come back to finish the job?